After a degree in science, Deepak Mehta joined his father's chemical business.
So my father was mostly busy. I ended up trying to run Deepak Nitrite. So then on came an option for Deepak to grow both organically and inorganically, acquiring some businesses, creating new businesses. We moved into products which were agro intermediates, pharma intermediates, increasing our exports to almost 50% of our turnover.
But even as Deepak Nitrite started to grow internationally, Deepak Mehta realized that the true opportunity was elsewhere.
We did try quite a few acquisitions. One of these companies asked me, why do you look at Europe? We grow at just 2%. In your country, you grow at 12%. And I started thinking, are we belittling the opportunity that is there in India? One of the businesses that we looked at was a product which was in the petrochemical space. The plant was put up 5 times larger than any of the local players. Deepak Phenolics.
Today, with a group turnover of over 4,200 crore rupees, Deepak Nitrite has grown even during the challenging times of the pandemic.
So we had planned to make this product called IPA, one of the main ingredients of a sanitizer. We were just getting the plant to be mechanically complete, and then the pandemic struck. Ports were getting jammed, equipment were stopped. We ended up bringing our best people, keeping the collaborators constantly on the Zoom. The team did an exceedingly good job in commissioning of the plant. We could successfully do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us on the show today Mr. Deepak Mehta, Chairman and Managing Director, Deepak Nitrite and Deepak Phenolics, and also the Chairman of National Chemicals Committee, FICCI, logging in from Baroda. With over 50 years of experience in driving sustainable and responsible manufacturing practices, Deepak is a renowned thought leader in our chemical industry. The Deepak Group has been one of the earliest adopters of the Make in India philosophy. The company has ventured into large petrochemical-based projects for manufacture of phenol and acetone and associated derivatives, and making over 100 basic, fine and specialty chemicals and performance products from 6 manufacturing locations across India. About 35% of their odd rupees 4,300 crore revenue in FY20 came from exports to over 700 plus clients across the globe. Very interestingly, Deepak is also an active trustee on Deepak Foundation, a group trust dedicated to improving quality of life for persons in BPL category, as also improving the life expectancy for women and children, besides BAIF Development Research Foundation, a voluntary organization dedicated to rural development, and Baroda Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. He is chairman of Swades, the Society for Village Development in Petrochemicals area. A very warm welcome to the show, Insights with Nidhi Verma. I'm very glad that finally we could have this session, Deepak.
Thank you, Nidhi. A very warm welcome to you. A very warm afternoon to you. And it's a pleasure, as always, to be in discussions with you.
Such a wonderful humane prospect and aspect that I found out now. It is such a revelation, Deepak. I have introduced you so many times in our ICC summit, which we've been doing for the last 11 years. Is this the reason for your very gentle, pleasant, smiling demeanor, almost Buddha-like aura?
I don't know. All the times, the coincidence is that you have been doing it.
Yes, absolutely.
So whether that brings a smile, I don't know.
I'm happy for that comment. Deepak, you made rupees 1,400 crores over 25 months investment, one of the largest investments in the India chemical sector in recent years, to create a manufacturing capacity of over 2 lakh tons of phenol. What was the thought process behind this very mammoth investment?
Well, Nidhi, like all chemical companies until 2014, Deepak was looking at expansions more related to the world demands we would go and travel to United States and Europe to look at export markets. We would also look at possible acquisition opportunities in Europe and America. But it was one of those days when visiting a company there, that the person out there said in Europe that we would rather look at acquiring companies in India. And that's when he said that Indian companies certainly have a huge potential to grow because the market continues to grow very well. While in Europe, the markets don't grow beyond 1 or 2%. So that's when we started looking at India, and we found that there are very good opportunities, particularly in areas of infrastructure, that the way India was growing, demand for some of these chemicals would be growing very well in India. And having studied a few projects, we found that to put up a phenol and acetone plant, the demand was really very, very supportive. And the demand had grown to such an extent that one could really look at putting up a world scale plant. We do realize that with low import duty protection, unless a chemical company in India puts up a world scale capacity, it would have challenges of being competitive. So that's what Deepak did. And that's how the large investment came up to put up the phenol plant.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. And I think, Deepak, sometimes, you need to kind of step a little far away to see that what is the depth of your own potential. Like from Europe, you could probably see that what prospects and potential India market itself had. Wonderful.
Sure. Yes.
The new capacity was just in time, just to serve the much needed demand for disinfectants and sanitizers. You are also doubling the capacity of IPA for acetone in Dahej from the existing 30,000 tons per annum. Any new plans of expansions or mergers, acquisitions overseas? What's your blueprint or the drawing board looking like?
Well, Deepak Nitrite is a company which has been more into intermediates, supplying to end users like pharmaceuticals, agrochemicals, and other performance product companies, and also supplying to some of the best known names in the world in these very segments. At the same time, one of the things that has been a great learning for us is, as I just said, the Indian market. And if the Indian market is growing so well, it would need chemicals. One of the issues which has been driving us today is that whatever has been the Indian market for the last 50 odd years, it ought to be growing as much in the next 5 to 7 years. And this is a fantastic opportunity. So for us, as soon as we completed the phenol plant, one of the things that we did was to convert one of our raw products, acetone, into IPA. We were really fortunate that by the time we were into production of IPA, the demand, which is normally only for solvents, also came about for using it in sanitizers. And last year, just when COVID had been rampant in the country, we were able to come into production of about 30,000 tons of IPA. Having successfully commissioned the plant during these difficult times, one of the first things that we decided was to immediately work to double the capacity. And I'm very happy that in the next 2 or 3 months, the second plant of IPA also should come into production. So all along, the approach has been to see, okay, wherever India needs most, how can we really find a way to make the product? Particularly in these days, we do find that internationally markets are a challenge, growth is a challenge, logistics movement is a challenge. And when you find all of these as good solutions in the country, you would rather look at developing products for the country. So I think it was more from a business sense that we actually embraced Atmanirbhar, and we are here.
Wonderful. If the decisions are made with the right principle and the right intent, the results will always be good. We're going to look forward for the new expansion, and I'm sure the products are going to be lapped up by the market even sooner than you think. Deepak, your organization's annual results and share price, 370% growth. It's a dream run. How you choose your markets? What are the strategies? What is the secret magic?
Well, if I share the magic, then there is no magic left, right? But there has been a lot of learning from some of the best companies in the world, companies such as BASF, Dow, DuPont. And one has always tried to be a player where one is supporting one's own customers well. So by and large, the approach has been to look at opportunities where the customers are growing well, to look at opportunities where we can get a benefit of integration. So the integrated business not only serves the market well, but in terms of life cycles, it has a great resilient stability because you are into the entire value chain. So that is one logic that we use to see that we build up something which is not only meeting today's market needs, but if situations do come challenging, we are still able to be better than the rest. So that has been a good idea so far.
Thank you for sharing that. It's going to be quite an insight for not only our industry colleagues, but also the entrepreneurs who are coming into this sector. Deepak, do you have any vacant position on your board which is empty and is looking for women? Kindly keep me in your periphery.
Certainly.
How much focus do you attribute on research and development? And what kind of financial commitment do you put for R&D? Because India is supposed to be a little lower on that edge where they say that, Indian owners do not invest so much into R&D like the Western world companies does.
So I believe India is very good in R&D, particularly when it comes to chemistry. And when you look at chemistry-based R&D, you find like one of the major reasons for India doing well in pharmaceuticals, where we have perhaps the second largest number of US FDA facilities in India, that is outside of the United States. One of the major reasons is that we are very good in chemistry. Where Deepak has been focusing on is wherever there is part chemistry and part chemical engineering, because this is a place where not many companies are involved. Yes, Indian companies should be contributing, investing much more in the research and development. And I do believe that the way things are happening now, there will be increased interest in research. Whatever we may complain or whatever we may request the government that yes, we need their support, we need tax benefits. Frankly, as one finds that there are more companies who have succeeded and made it big because of research, I'm sure a lot of other companies will suddenly want to use the same approach of growing through research. So it's a matter of time. As a few good companies succeed using R&D, it will catch up. It will be very contagious for other companies to also do this.
I think Deepak is a very shining example in our own industry where people can see your investments in R&D and see the results that you can kind of attribute a little bit to that. And also,
there are a few good companies also in the chemical business, and they are investing into R&D. But yes, it's still far from what the country should be investing.
Deepak, the Indian chemical industry is currently Asia's third largest and seventh largest. We all know that. Markets are going gung-ho about prospects of specialty chemicals industry in particular. Why so much of optimism?
So there are two reasons. One, very, very short term, is a situation driven more by China. Earlier on, it was the China's environment situation, which put some of the chemicals in terms of availability as a challenge. Later on, it became an issue between China and United States, where the trade wars that were taking place was creating an opportunity outside of China. And both now, due to COVID and due to Indian markets growing itself, and the government's strong desire to become Atmanirbhar, that the chemicals and particularly specialty chemical company opportunities are opening up very well. Even today, if almost 80% of our pharma actives and intermediates are imported and dependent on China, with the government support, a large number of companies have started looking at making these in India for Indian markets. So all of this certainly really augurs well for the chemical industry. And as I said, because of the way the world prices are today, China getting to be short, the rest of the world looking at China plus as a supplier option, specialty chemical companies are doing very well.
Thank you. Deepak, you are the chairman of the National Chemicals Committee, FICCI, and I did hear you a few days ago in Delhi, but for the benefit of our audience, what incentives and policy initiatives and measures the government still further needs to undertake to encourage our industry's growth?
You know, I have, Nidhi, a little different view. Personally, I feel that more than incentives, the government really needs to do something more about the infrastructure. We have been making a case to the government that it will be best if you are able to create an infrastructure where the chemical company just needs to do like plug and play. Today, in setting up a factory, about 70 to 75% of the investment goes into the chemical plant, and 25 to 30% investment goes into the what we call as outside battery limits, the boilers, the cooling towers, the fire water. And one of the themes that we have been telling the government is, why can't all this input that comes like boilers, etc., be provided as a part of an infrastructure, as a shared infrastructure? Then the entrepreneur just needs to invest only 75% of the money required for putting up the plant. And then he saves that much additional money to put in additional capacities. So it would help him grow much faster. We are still badly lacking in port facilities. Logistic costs is still high. And all of this not only creates disadvantage in terms of costs, but a lot of our time goes into trying to find such solutions where we need not really spend time. So I do hope that the chemical clusters and PCPIRs will really come up in the right spirit as what the government originally intended. I'm sure when that happens, we will really not need much incentive support to grow.
Well said. And this PCPIR has been a very well thought program, but somehow the implementation probably needs to be a little more jacked up. Agreed, sir.
Yes.
How can India save the billions of dollars that our country is actually losing to imports? I'm sure the government should be very worried about that. That is one aspect which should force them to kind of bring up our industry to become more Atmanirbhar.
Yes, and I strongly believe that the government focusing on ensuring the infrastructure is made available would make a huge difference.
Great.
A lot of times, the government has actually to only act as a catalyst. They don't even need to bring in funds, because there are very, very large companies such as insurance companies internationally who would love to invest into these infrastructure type of businesses which don't go up and down in terms of demand, and they want a flat return and a very, very long-term return. Maybe low return, but it's very long-term. Now, when we are able to see that these funds are brought in to support infrastructure investment in India, and that can only happen by the government playing an active role, that we are creating an ecosystem where production in India is as competitive as elsewhere. Having done that, I'm sure the Indian entrepreneur is active enough to grow as quickly.
Absolutely. You mentioned China. How is our industry, placed in competition to the Chinese industry? And how have the recent developments of the Indo-China relationship, has it impacted our industry in some way?
Certainly, whatever happens in China affects the whole world. And in particular in India, from an Indian sentiment point of view, whatever is happening between India and China has positively affected companies which are looking at making products for India. The recent challenges in logistics where you don't get ISO containers, you find shipping coming to be late, you find that at customs the material gets stuck up. All this has also made more and more downstream customers to depend more on domestic suppliers than on imports. And since bulk of our imports in chemicals were coming from China, certainly it would affect in the long term more production coming produced in India for Indian markets. China, having said that, China is by far the largest player in the chemical world. It is 10 times the size of India, and it is continuing to grow. So we have a long way to go, and we have a lot to learn from China.
What are the main lessons and what are the reasons why you think that China and the second best have such a huge gap? Would you probably outline a few for us?
I think two things. China, because of central planning, is able to decide and focus and then ensure that execution is superb. Be it creating chemical parks, be it creating ecosystems where they can attract the major players, and be it creating the entire value chain. See, ultimately it is the finished goods like air conditioners and refrigerators and toys that are exported out of China. But then they end up creating a very, very large demand for all that gets into making these products, including chemicals. So when you are able to create an ecosystem that encourages the country to be the manufacturing center of the world, you are able to see that everybody in the value chain would find it easier to be in that place. India has a large market itself, so I know we can never be as big as China. We are not so aggressive and so much determined. But even India as a market, the way it is growing, if we are able to put our act together from being number 5 and number 6 in the world, we can certainly grow up to be number 3 or number 4. So I still look forward to India putting its act together and making Atmanirbhar really a practice that both government and the industry are doing.
Well said. Deepak, have you seen any foreign companies who have actually relocated from China after the pandemic? There was a huge UN cry about it, when the pandemic broke in April and May last year. But somehow, I'm not sure really people have done any coming out of China at all. Not only, forget about India, to any other country, the foreign companies.
Yes. In this last 1 year, we have been trying to check what is happening to these foreign companies, American companies, European companies. One of the things we did find that, yes, they were keen. They have started looking at coming out of China, or at least reducing the dependence on China. Particularly the American companies, more as a result of the trade wars that were taking place. But with COVID coming in, on one side, the resolve to really look at China plus one has increased. On the other side, right now, they have been so much caught up in trying to continue because the challenges of their own businesses getting affected because of COVID, not getting people to run their own businesses, have made them become very, very short-term focus. They're much more concerned about this day and this week and this month, and the mid-term planning is actually put on the side. So I do hope that once COVID impact reduces, hopefully after the vaccination, and things are a lot stable, the desire to look at China plus would become much more stronger. On the other hand, there is also concern that some of these countries do find that should we go to India or should we create capacities in our own countries?
Correct, yes.
So here is India, where we will have to do a lot of selling that yes, India is a reliable, competitive partner who can bring in cost effectiveness to you. So opportunity is there, but it's not going to come easy. We will have to work for it.
Very hard. I did speak to a lot of world leaders in my first series of the Insights with Nidhi Verma show, which I started when we were working from home and the conferences were to be looked in later. And most of them, Deepak, whether they were from America or they were from Japan or Taiwan or Europe, specifically Germany, all of them said that, yes, we are looking at the opportunities if they had plants in China, but then we would prefer to come back nearer to our own home than to kind of relocate to another Asian country. This was the voice that I heard even back then. So your point is very valid there. Deepak, what are your views on regional trade agreements? Do they help the local consumer in trends of reduced costs? And do they help the industry for scaling up?
Well, in the long-term, regional agreements are good because if everybody is on the same low duty situation, it gives opportunities for all. But again, it's a question of timing. Unless we as India become put our act together in terms of competitive infrastructure and therefore competitive manufacturing, in the short term, RCEP type of things would only go to weaken the Indian companies, because India is a great opportunity in terms of demand. Now, we don't want to give this opportunity on a platter to our other countries and leave the Indian manufacturing not being able to catch up. So the idea is, if we are able to see that in the next few years, better ecosystem, better infrastructure can help Indian companies bring in capacities which are large, competitive, and at that time we talk about RCEP, then we are talking from an equal strength point of view. And then that would be a very good opportunity for India. But in the short term, I feel that what the government is doing is correct, that we need to wait for India to become stronger by putting the infrastructure first.
Yes, I think your thought is resounding across all the leaders. I agree with that. Deepak, why is there hardly any FDI in the chemical sector? What could be the reason?
I believe there is FDI coming, and if you see the 2 years back, one of the largest investment that came into acquire companies like SR refineries, the way there is a talk about Aramco getting into investing in India in a big way. So it's a matter of time. And I believe that sooner the government is able to create the right ecosystem, more and more companies would want to invest into India, and the FDI would certainly go up. The opportunity is great for the chemical sector. The business is doing very well. It's the question of the government putting the right ecosystem, and FDI would certainly pour into India.
Optimistic, and of course we think that after this vaccination focus is away from the government, then they will come into the real development parameters.
I hope.
Why does the Indian manufacturer not increase their capacities? I know that huge investments are there, huge lead times are there, but if you see PVC, titanium dioxide, a lot of other chemicals, why is it that we still depend on imports and huge amount of imports?
So one of the reasons is that for quite a few of these products, we need to develop the right blueprint to see that the inputs are available easily. For example, you mentioned PVC. PVC requires ethylene, and ethylene is not easily available. In fact, one of the challenges is that whatever ethylene is produced in India is converted to polyethylene, because Indian demand for polyethylene also is very good.
Very high. Yeah.
So in the long term, we have been talking to the government that we need to create anchor units, or what we now can call as also consortium facilities, where the olefins are made like ethylene and propylene. If they are made available, then derivatives like PVC, etc., will come up very, very quickly. About products like titanium dioxide, again, I think the issue is for us to put our act together to create the right blueprint. And some of these businesses that are still driven more by the public sector, I do hope that when this privatization really takes off, some of these things will open up, and the likes of titanium dioxide would be produced much more in India.
I know how much responsible care is close to your heart. I've seen it over the 11 years of the ICC conference. How much more focus the chemical companies need to put on environment and sustainability? Are they already very focused on it, or there needs to be more focus put on these two very important topics?
I think environment and sustainability is extremely critical. But what happens is when a company has been having good times, somehow taking care of the safety, etc., may be given a little by, because the entrepreneur is constantly facing a lot of other challenges. But I do know that all good companies have been focusing very well on these matters. And I do know, like even in Deepak, our regulatory priorities, our safety committees, the amount of time we give right from the board level to ensure that the meetings are taking place to review every division, how well they are taking care of, and consistently giving safety a priority over even production. Because we do know that it may not show up immediately, but in the long term, taking care of safety is a must. With regard to sustainability, I do believe that ethics, aesthetics, and economics ultimately all go hand in hand. You create a sustainable environment, you will end up finally making more money.
I always wanted to ask you this question, even in the award ceremony that we did, for your organization and your father. What is the one principle and learning that you have taken from your father, very respected Chimanlal Bhai Mehta, that you would want the entire Mehta legacy to take forward? The third generation, fourth generation, Maulik, his children. What is it that is, salient thing in the Mehta clan?
I think one word I would say is just integrity. We would never want to do anything which is wrong, which can make people even have a slightest doubt. And we would always want to see that we honor what we do, what we say. So that has been something that has always been carried. Of course, along with that has been this equal concern for the society. And perhaps that's where the priorities on issues like responsible care come. And I do know that this is a typical old Indian culture of wanting to take care of the society. My father would say that you should give back to the same place from where you earn. So how do you really look at that? So these value systems are things that we have grown up with. I'm sure my children would be also looking similarly. And there is a greater pleasure when you really see that you're doing something good for the society.
Yes.
This pleasure is beyond making money.
Absolutely. Yes, I thought so, but thank you for sharing, because these basic principles, I think they go a very long way, extremely long way. Yes.
Yeah.
Deepak Nitrite is already on the path to become a global leader in the chemical industry. We are very proud of your entire company, sir. It's been a delight to speak to you today, know your views and thoughts, and our industry colleagues shall enjoy this session equally like I have done. So then, till we meet again, bye and see you soon.
Thank you. And wish you all the best, Nidhi.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.